capital planning, 6:44. Sorry I'm late.
We forgive you.
That's good.
2 demerits.
Sorry you had to listen to Steve.
He's not too bad.
I appreciate him taking up my time.
There you go.
Okay, so we have a couple of things I'm going to say to discuss prior to discussing. The first one is that I hear our ARPA funding request for a building feasibility study has finally been done, and that is somewhere in the works.
For the feasibility study for the facilities in town?
Correct.
It is
Correct.
in the works.
Okay.
So
Super.
we are working on, so basically the select board put a small facilities group together to look at the first round of it, make some little tweaks and corrections, and that's what we're at right now. And then it's going to have a second draft come out that goes broadly distributed to everyone and everywhere, every board and committee all around.
So given that this was a capital planning funding request from ARPA, where does, and building feasibility is in our bylaw, where do we fit in the program process?
So once we just make sure that there aren't like glaring omissions and errors, which is, we're pretty much close to it, you guys would receive the study and be eligible. Obviously, we want your comments on all of it, so.
Right.
That would be the next step. And we're
Okay.
hoping to have that out soon, and we're gonna give a month for comment period.
Okay.
Is that enough time, a month?
I
I'm just saying-
might be able to give a little more, but we're on a time frame with the consultant too, so that's where we're at. I
Okay.
asked if I could possibly have a little more time, so I'm waiting to hear back.
I'm just
on
saying that because there were so many groups that need to,
To look at it, yeah.
yeah.
So my question is, what are we commenting on?
So the study itself, right now, we only have a piece of it. We don't have the whole thing. We actually have just the building assessment component of it. There's also an energy audit, which has just come in, as well as a space needs assessment, and that part is still underway. So it's basically any comments that you have on the study itself and what the reuse should be of the buildings, or if we should keep the buildings. So we were putting together a sheet to send out to the boards and committees with the study to provide some questions and comments that we can get feedback on.
Okay.
So it'll be a little guided, but you can also add any feedback that you feel is important to add.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure of our role as an asset manager, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how to phrase that differently. You know, I don't know what comments we might have, so I was curious.
Just kind of a quick question, and on that whole study, I think it's great. Do they make recommendations whether, and I'm going to use the old fire station as an example, do they make a recommendation to say, okay, yes, you should repair it and do this, or no, it's not repairable, you should either demolish it, or they do that?
They have a formula that
Okay.
they use. So basically what they say is when the cost to repair, renovate,
Right.
bring it up to code, et cetera, exceeds 30% of the value of the building, it's not worth putting funding into that building.
Right.
And they map out what are the immediate concerns and what are going to be the concerns for the next 10 years. So then they actually show you at years 3, years 5, and years 10. And after it hits a certain mark, you can see where, I mean, they don't come out and say you should demolish this building, because that's not their job.
Yeah, that's
But I know what- you know what I meant.
You know what I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
they do a formula where you can go, oh, so this building's gonna cost us 71% of its value to renovate? Doesn't
No,
sound like
yeah.
we should put any money into that.
But you know what I was talking about. so,
Exactly,
yeah.
and we're working on a summary spreadsheet right
Yes.
now, because right now we just have individual building assessments, so we're gonna have a summary spreadsheet for all the buildings. That'll be a
nice.
really good overview for folks to look at.
That does not include the Bullard House, right?
It does,
Oh, it does?
yes,
Because the town owns the Boulder House.
yes.
Does it include obscure things like the fire, the flagpole, and the clock?
No. So
Okay.
we don't, do we own the clock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's
Where's
mostly
the clock?
Where's the clock?
buildings.
Of this building?
No, at the top of the church.
Oh, yeah,
that
somebody
one.
had told me that, yeah.
Interesting.
The town owns it?
The town owns the clock.
Are you
Not the
kidding me?
building.
You
I'm
own the
not.
land?
It's on our
The
list.
building?
Correct.
kidding
We
me?
also own the flagpole, which is not on our land.
Interesting.
Um,
So
That doesn't make much sense.
Correct.
You'd
But
think
when
you would
it's-
turn
but
that
it's
over
good
to
to
the.
have
I'm
a
still-
working
I'm-
clock, yeah. But it's good to have a working clock and,
It's good to have a working clock.
yeah.
I'm just not sure where the responsibilities end or
Oh,
start.
okay.
that's something we should probably put on the list to
Yeah.
look into, because I actually didn't know the town owned the clock or the flagpole, because I assumed with them being on other people's property.
Well,
No, we have
You know what
some-
hurts that is liability. If
Yeah,
that flagpole, for somebody that fell down and hit somebody,
yeah.
we'd be,
Is
the
that
town
our
would be
fault?
responsible.
I also haven't done any investigating, but I know when we were putting our list together of capital planning, or capital whatever planning, at town assets, that the Carter Street garage that used to be the public highway.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
DPW by.
Thank you. I whacked my head again last week, and so words aren't coming as well as they should. That, the deedage was sort of in question with that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's part, we started talking about that actually, was it last week or the week before, at one of our meetings? We were actually in the Worcester County Registry of Deeds starting
Oh,
to
good.
pull up and look at.
After
what's
all
up with
these years, they're questioning the deed.
Well, did
They-
it used to belong
That was,
to the church?
Church.
The church, right?
Well, the building belonged to the church.
that's
Okay.
right.
And the
Yeah.
building, I believe, was given to us, but the land was debated.
that. Yeah. So there were a couple ownership issues that came up that we were looking at. The scope of the facility study was already done before I came on board. So all I
Yeah.
did was put out the RFP. So, unfortunately, I didn't know there were things missing. But I think I can certainly ask to see if it's too late to add those. I don't know. I think the flagpole, we could probably, is it an 80-foot flagpole?
I have no idea.
I
I
have
don't-
a company I've used previously that can come out and actually take a look at that, and the guy is a really honest guy, and he would tell us if it needs replacement or what its useful life is and the cost to replace it. I can tell you, I replaced an 80-foot flagpole in either 2018 or 2019, and they are about, at that time, it was $18,000 to do.
Oof.
Big
That's
bucks.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, at that stage
So
of the
now,
game-
and now it's probably more.
Yeah.
'Cause
But at that
was-
stage of the game, we just take it down, not do anything with it. Because we go on the flagpole, you can take the flagpole down.
Is there, well, I don't want to get into.
I know what you're
issues.
saying.
No, I was going to say, though, the other issue is sometimes if.
Yeah, I
there's a
know,
little light
I know.
on it, Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to any of these questions.
I know, but that's, you sit back safe for
This
that
is
amount of
called
money.
going down the rabbit hole.
Right,
You open
right.
it up and then you're like, oh my goodness, 7 more things come up.
I just
I
know
know.
in our bylaw, we're supposed to maintain a list of assets owned by the town. So
Got it.
when we were
Yeah.
putting that list together,
Oh,
Okay.
It's amazing. as many
these
years
things
I've-
came up, and then the building
Yeah.
stuff came up, so then when
Yeah.
ARPA
As
came
many years
available.
I've lived in this town office since a kid, I never knew that. The clock and the flagpole.
Clock and the
I had
flagpole.
no.
To restore
I mean, I was,
land to use that.
1952, I was born here, and I mean, it was like,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Land for the old, to build the, the old fire department, not fire, the highway department was. They're thinking of putting senior center there.
huh?
It's still,
Believe it or not, that building is actually structurally better than a lot of the other buildings.
Oh, I don't
we
doubt that.
have.
I
'Cause they
don't
took
doubt
care of
that
it.
Either, yeah.
But there is that land ownership issue, and then I believe there's a shared septic
Yeah, there's a
issue there,
septic
if I'm
Oh,
not
that's right next
mistaken.
door, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those things would have to be resolved, not to say they can't be, but there are challenges. I will tell you that, from what I've seen so far, no money whatsoever should go into the old fire station or the rescue building at all.
Nope.
In fact, the old fire station is potentially structurally unsound. And we
Unsound.
actually have the fire chief and the building inspector looking into it based on the preliminary results of the building assessment.
It did not get its new roof.
It did not.
yet, Right?
I did not do that deliberately, even though there was money for it, because
but we approved
I
money
split
for
it
it.
off. You did.
Yeah, we did.
But until we had the facilities study, I wasn't gonna
Right,
put
right. I
money
don't blame
into
you.
something
That
like that.
also-
That didn't make sense to me.
That's
That makes-
very-
That is
very
also
smart.
something we talked about last
Yeah,
year.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got asked about that a few times. Well, there's money for it. Well, that doesn't mean we should spend it just because
Right.
we have the money.
Right, right.
Especially if the
So-
building's not sound. I would say if it's structurally sound,
No. I mean, they don't want people wandering around in that building.
I mean, the roof was leaking a
The roof
fair
is
bit
leaking.
last
Right,
year.
There's also an issue with the boiler. There's a number of problems with that building. The structural concerns me.
oh, I was gonna
The most.
say that the boiler or that type of thing doesn't bother me, it's the structure a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's your integrity of the building.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's can the building survive another 50 years or not? And I don't believe the answer to
Would
that
the,
is yes.
and throw kind of a curve out there for that is, if we decided not to put any money in there, would the town have the option to sell that piece?
Yes, so town meeting has to approve it.
Right, but that could be sold.
Yes.
Okay.
Another option, just to think of, is if we put a little bit of money into demo of the demolishing the buildings, that could be an egress for public safety to get out onto 62 easier than that crazy intersection that they're going
Right.
through right now.
Mm.
When you talk about response times and trying to maneuver,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
that's not a bad exit right there.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can just circle.
Fill it in and go.
Yep.
Yep.
So just, I mean, ideas, but
Hang on to that thought, it's a
more
good
to
one.
come.
When I looked at demolishing a house last year, the year before, it was $100,000.
I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say, it's
For
not
No.
cheap.
Demolish.
No doubt about
Really?
it.
Well,
Yeah.
the Brown Barn on
We
South
offered to
Commons.
live burn it because it was.
Part of the, part of the problem is the hazardous materials getting rid of, that's the problem.
That's the challenge, because you have to remediate that first, and
Yep.
that's your most costly part, because you literally have the men in the white suits come in.
Yeah, especially in
and
old houses.
Seal things off, and, so you have to look at that. But I will tell you, the Brown Barn on South Commons, which we have to have it looked at, but we don't actually anticipate there being hazardous materials in that building, was $26,000.
The only
demolish
thing,
just
the only
that.
thing would be the creosote posts in the ground.
Yep,
That would be the only thing that hazardous that was being, but gotta remember, there was also trucks parked in there for many, many years.
in the
In the barn.
fire, oh, in the barn, yep.
So you're gonna have oil leaks, gas leaks, whatever,
Mm.
antifreeze leaks. So remember, that's, I can
But
remember
in
when
theory,
Big,
it's in the ground.
yeah, that was Big Bertha used to be parked in there.
Well, I heard, through this process, a funny story came out that there used to be a herd of a town, some type of herd of, I don't know if it was goats or sheep or something.
Yep.
That Tim Wheeler used to tend to back in the day,
It's true.
and that's pretty cool.
That's really cool. Can we do that again?
Oh, don't tell it,
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
don't tell the
that.
historical commission that, they'll want to preserve it.
I think they were the ones that told me.
Oh, really?
Yes, but James has agreed to take over. I'm just kidding. James has enough on his plate, I'm not gonna volunteer him for the town herd.
We need a town herd. We need a town forest.
Yes,
We should talk about that.
That
Town
would-
shepherd.
Town shepherd.
shepherd.
Yep, that's gonna be my job. I'm gonna sit in the,
I'm still waiting for
In
the
the
Hearst
field
house to
with
be
a
put
crook.
back up.
yeah.
the what?
We have an agreement for it to be put back.
The
up.
Hearst house.
Oh, Hearst House. I heard Bird House.
Right.
Yeah, Hearst House would be nice.
Yeah,
But is that owned by the town or by the
Yes.
historical?
no, Historical Society,
Oh,
Historical Society owns the Hearst House.
yes.
Okay.
And the agreement is that they can put it up on town-owned property. We did an agreement with them last year.
Yeah, that was originally when far back as I can remember, was a kid, always was down back by the tombs.
Yep.
yeah.
I think there was some debate going on about the actual location because it needed to be moved 5 feet or something, so they had to go to the zoning board because there was a setback issue, so they got that resolved. Now they gotta piece the thing back together.
It originally, and then at one time, it was right up next to the road.
Yeah. So part of it is too, is they're trying to research and make sure they get the historical accuracy, but also
Yep.
now you're looking at ADA and making sure people have access to it as well, because why put something historical that
You know-
people can look at if people can't get to it?
Yeah, I think
They're
still,
gonna-
well, we're going
hire
up
more
off the street here,
consultants.
but, you know, there's a point where you gotta draw the line, I think.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, so second on our thing, is Eloise's voting machines. I hear ARPA funds are being
Yeah.
spent differently than our list.
So, yes, so there was a vote that the select board took to expend $10,000 in ARPA funds and take it from what was left over from the facilities study, because there was $75,000 that was allocated for the facilities study, and the cost was $57,000 to do that. Plus $18,000 of that 57 is coming from the Energy Committee and their adder funds that they manage as part of the aggregation. So there was a vote in order to buy the one machine and fund the first year cost so that it could go into effect for this fall, because you have to be able to provide a 120-day notification to the state for any state election. So town meeting, if we went to town meeting, it misses that deadline by 3 or 4 days in order to do it. So I, would love it if Capital could confirm or weigh in on that vote.
If there all those funds that we approve for the study and all that stuff, that's approved by town meeting, right?
ARPA? No.
No?
That's under the jurisdiction of the select board.
Okay.
How much money is there to
So
approve?
the device itself was $7,100. I'm sorry, I should call it a machine, because when I say device, I've been told people think of the
Yeah.
clickers.
Yeah.
The machine that counts the ballots
The machine?
was $7,100. And there's a $300 annual software maintenance warranty agreement that you have to pay. And then there's a fee per local election. So it's like setting up the machine, printing all the ballots. You actually technically have to have a ballot for every registered voter, because theoretically, 2,800 registered voters, 2,800 people could show up for an election. What are you going to do if you don't print enough ballots?
True.
So, in the spirit and intent of democracy, you have to make sure you have a ballot for everybody. So the actual cost per election is about $1,400. However, it's going to reduce the amount of time people have to be there and the police detail that has to be there, which is quite expensive. So you're getting a savings on the back end by shortening that window by which you have to pay police and volunteers, some of which get paid, some don't.
Is there a dollar amount that we're gonna save yet or not?
It's a little difficult because we haven't done it yet, so we don't know exactly how much, because you do have to count still, check people in up front.
Right.
But right now, it's taking about 22 to 24 hours. People
I
are
know.
staying until 4 in the morning after elections counting.
That should cut
So-
that way in half.
Once we do an election, we'll be able to actually calculate that and see, but I think that overall, it's gonna smooth the process out, and
What about a backup if one fails? If that machine
we
fails?
talked about that, and we had one company that was more than happy to sell us two, and another said you don't need it, because they are in over 200 cities and towns in Massachusetts. They are within an hour away for any major election, and they have a 24-hour customer service center. They can be here within 1 hour, and there's also a special bin on the machine that if the machine should go down, it's secure. You can put the ballots in there securely and secure them until the machine's back up
So
and
people
running.
can keep voting without the machine being
Correct.
You
operational.
did a good job.
And then you put, I'm trying.
Good job. That's
No,
good.
much
But
thanks to the
they've
Wysockies,
worked out-
actually.
They've
Tim-
worked out a lot of the issues.
Yeah, oh,
It's
yeah.
a lot. And I gotta tell you, Tim Wysocki and Lisa Wysocki and Peg Stone, I mean, they did a phenomenal job researching all of this. And, it's funny, they tried to see if you could jam the machine. They tried putting in ballots backwards, sideways. You can put them in the machine almost pretty much any way, and you can't jam the machine. They tried checking it's like, remember back in the school days in the school with the circles you had
Yep.
to fill in? That's what it is. They tried checking, Xing the boxes instead of circling them in. It still
How do
did
you
it.
call those chads? Remember the
The
2000?
hanging
Yeah.
chads,
Hanging
I
chads,
remember
yeah.
that
Yep.
election interview.
Amazing. And really, to me, it doesn't sound like a lot of money for what you're getting either.
It's just more of that one-time upfront cost, and then to save on, I just think, like I said this before, so I'll say it again, I think it's abusive to make
I
people
thought
stay
we
for a
were
day.
buying
Yeah.
two.
Well, that's what I just asked.
Just one?
Just one. They've got, because they have the customer service.
And you have backup by doing it on the side
Okay.
pocket, so.
Yep, and then it's secured in there until the machine's back up and running, and then you just run them through. And it is a paper ballot, so God forbid the whole world shuts down, you still have a paper ballot
Yeah.
you can tap.
No, that's, sounds like that was well thought out.
The apocalypse comes and you can't do anything with technology, you still got
Solar
paper.
flares.
See,
We've
now
had a
you've
lot
earned
of
your money.
solar flares.
I'm trying, doing what I can.
Okay, I make a motion, we vote to approve or agree with the select board's choice of spending that money on election
I second that.
devices, machines.
Machine, one
Machine.
election machine.
One election machine and the associated cost for 1 year.
Yeah. I second
You
that.
second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
I don't vote, so.
Yeah, pass unanimously.
Thank you
I'll
very
just
much.
smile.
Are there any other changes to the ARPA funding list that we have?
The cruiser. Did we talk about the cruiser last time?
We talked about how, yeah, because if
Yeah.
you bought it now, you save money.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was-
that's really, that's the only other change that we've made at this time. And I can email out an updated sheet. I'm actually working on adding a column of what we think is gonna be left over on some of these projects. Now
Yeah.
they're in process that can be reappropriated to other things. So the rule of thumb is, everything has to be appropriated by the end of this year. Everything has to be spent by the end of '26. But the feds are trying to change it again because they want to claw back any of this money that hasn't been used.
Sure.
So now they're saying you have to enter into contracts by the end of '24. So there are some things we have on there that may not viably happen before the end of '24. So we may have to make some more changes. I'll make sure to keep you in the loop on that.
Okay. Do you have a thought as to what might not get under contract by the end of '24?
I know they're working on the playground renovation, and that there's a lot that is involved in that. And I let Julie know the deadline because I really want to make sure that that can happen. 'Cause that's $180,000 that we allocate. It's a significant amount.
Yeah.
It's like 20% almost of the money that we received. They are doing a lot right now with recreation, and they have a lot of different projects going on. So I'm hoping that that can move forward, and she knows that they need to enter into some type of agreement on that. So that's the only project that's really not underway at this time. I struggled a bit with the website. Sorry, Julie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's okay, because I was just noticing here the Bullard House.
Yep, I've been working with June Miller on that.
Okay.
So we do have, and we're looking mostly at drainage and the drainage between the two sites, because
Okay.
it doesn't make any sense to try to fix what's going on at the Bullard House if you don't look at the stuff running down the hill from 1870.
Okay.
So we're looking at drainage issues comprehensively, and also then we can pave that parking area at 1870. You don't pave a parking lot and then tear it up to fix
Yeah.
the drainage. That doesn't make any sense. Trying to think long-term here. So we got an engineering firm to start looking at the drainage issues on the site and make some recommendations as to what we can do
I think Freddie was talking, we had him in here.
about the paving.
Yeah.
Yep, and he knows, so.
Well, I
if
think he
they're
was on
gonna
top
go-
of it. He was on top of it.
Oh, yeah, and he understands that we've got to get the drainage situation under control before we can pave.
A quick question for you.
That just
Since
attends
I'm-
every meeting.
They
That
land
bug,
on me
that
all
bug.
day long. I've decided they are generally my friends, but sometimes they
Yeah.
scare me.
Looks like a stick.
I have to do
They
the
are.
minutes, so I need the right wording. What you said, new budgeting rule is they have to spend money by 2 years or?
So, the new rule that they are trying to pass,
Oh,
it's not passed yet, is to have every bit of ARPA money under contract by the end of this calendar year.
spend by, or whatever.
Under contract.
Under contract.
Oh.
Just agreed, taken up.
Whereas before it was just appropriated by the end of '24. And we have appropriated everything in anticipation of that
You know,
requirement.
it's the problem with under contract is, that contract is not gonna be good when they go to do the job.
Well, that's the problem that we're arguing, because we have to put it out to bid, then the contract's only good for so long, and you're also rushing, so what if it's out at the wrong time of year, the contractors are busy, you're gonna pay a premium, it's not a good scenario.
And it's not only that, is if you go to put it up for bids, 30 days later, the prices are gonna change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most contractors only hold their quotes for 30
7 days.
Oh, now 7? Yeah, there have been some that have been shorter.
7 to 10 days, for everything I've done now.
The market is so volatile right now, it doesn't entirely
Especially in
surprise me.
wiring and plumbing, if it's.
Oh, yeah.
7 and 10 days, those two, no.
It's still tough out there with supply and cost
Yeah.
just is very unstable.
Changes too fast.
Yep.
Especially the fire equipment and police trucks.
Yep.
I'm really glad we locked in the cruiser, and also that we made the decision to do that fire engine last year,
Yeah.
which the chief has been in the process. He's locked it in already, and they're in the process of designing it. So, you know, it's a 30-month process. It's
amazing,
not
isn't
quick.
it?
Yep. But at least we're locked in now, and we don't have to worry about the
Price increases. and all.
crazy increase in costs.
I actually did a quote on a HVAC unit, and 10 days. And then they said even with a contract you sign in 10 days, the cost could go up at least 20% after because of the materials.
That's just crazy to me. It really is.
But what are you gonna do?
I know, you're stuck, that's the thing, and
Yeah.
we're looking at, you know, things like, fortunately, the air handler is already installed, that's done, they're just doing the final pieces of walkthrough to make sure everything is sealed up and back together on there. The servers are done. Third floor renovation, we're in the process of talking about if we should do the design and have it be shovel ready. So that's kind of part of the thing, because there's this municipal buildings program that's supposed to come down from the state, but it didn't make it into the governor's budget this year. So, although I've been hearing a lot of cities and towns really pushing back on that, so I'm wondering if it may get amended. So we'll see. You know, the other one I think is the road engineering. That's going to be probably a big challenge. We may need to reappropriate some of that funding, because that was really kind of our pot of money to apply for grants, to be able to do that shovel-ready part and be able to put it out. And we did use a little bit of it already to do a $500,000 grant for complete streets in the downtown. Carter, Woodward, Woodward, sorry, and doing sidewalks and pedestrian-friendly lanes, and we seem to have a really strong application we should be hearing in March, and then we would do paving down there too. So it's those kind of things, and I was hoping to use some of that money also to apply for a small bridge grant for South Street,
How
so.
about doing a road grant for Crosby Road?
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
bad.
really torn up.
Yeah,
Down by, as you're going down towards Linden Street, just
Yep.
before you're there.
Yep.
Oh my God,
Okay.
there's about
Like
1,000
near
feet there. that's-
Kevin Pond's house, everybody.
Yeah,
knows
oh
that,
my
yeah.
God.
I actually have.
Is that because of the detouring? Because
No,
of the
well,
bridge?
it's-
Or was it
And mostly
bad
it's-
It was
because
bad last
It's
year.
mostly it's freezing, thawing, rain.
Fred's
Because-
actually putting together a list right now
Because
Poor-
Sawyer
poor
Hill Road-
drainage, that's
Sawyer
what
of
Hill-
what he's gonna be working.
Yeah, that's a chunk of road that if we were gonna pave, I'd pave all the way from Jones Road all the way down to that.
Linden Street, yeah.
I mean, he paves some amount of road every year.
Yeah, you
so-
went up,
He does.
to Jones Road, up to Crosby, and then up, but when you go from that point towards Linden,
Yeah.
there's
it's
1,000 feet in there, you can't, if you do more than 10 miles an hour,
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm
that's
working
good
on-
then.
well,
Yeah.
if you live there, it's probably good.
Right.
I am
want
working on
speed bumps
getting
on my
his
street.
paving and crack sealing schedule, or things are subject to
Right.
change, but
Right.
estimated schedule, and I'll make sure we get that out to you as well.
I had a question, something I wanted to move into before this, but I have forgotten. Oh, school. Have we heard anything from the school about their capital budget?
No.
Okay.
We have asked for information repeatedly, and they say they are not ready.
Okay.
I was telling them that was in the Clinton item, that they weren't gonna submit a budget because the numbers could change. The Boylston was in the, yep.
Okay. We'll leave that up to you guys.
I mean, we have deadlines by which we need to make decisions, and, if things aren't in by our deadlines, then we need to move forward with the information that we have.
Yep.
And that's the recommendation I'm making to the FinCom as well as the Select Board, because you know, we have to, we can't miss our deadlines and town meeting deadlines.
Right.
So, you know, I'll mention capital again, but.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm happy not to give them any money.
No,
That's fine.
it was just ironic, because I read it in the paper the
Yeah.
other day, and then I was talking to Kristen about it, and then you mentioned, didn't you say something about it too, that they were not gonna,
Yeah, they sent a letter to, well, they sent the letter to you, and then you told us about them not coming to the FinCom meeting?
Yes, I got an email from the school committee chair that was sent to me, Scott Schultz, FinCom chair, that let us know they would not be attending their scheduled FinCom hearing on February 7th because the budget wasn't ready at that time. They are going to have a budget hearing on February 27th, which they invited us to, and I may very well attend. The problem is I have to finalize my recommendations to the select board within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and the FinCom. So I can't do that without putting in at least some kind of placeholder estimate, which we've had in the past, and I can't get anything by which to do that. So that's why my recommendation will be 2.5% at this time, because I have to put a number in there.
for sure.
Right.
And I will be building the rest of the budget with what's left.
Yep.
And looking at supplemental funding requests from town departments and some of the needs that we've been putting off, particularly with regard to highway and public safety.
Yep.
Cool.
But you did see the capital one that I sent out, that they initially sent us back in December, that had $3 million worth of capital requests on it.
Yeah.
That's the last information I've received.
Okay.
And the email that came did say they did not have any new information to provide us at this time. And they did not want to waste our time by coming to the meeting without new information.
In that.
I mean, that's somewhat appreciated.
Sure, absolutely.
Is the new roof part of that? capital?
It was in so the big ticket items, and I was actually just trying to pull it up, were the BMS roof, air conditioning. I think the roof was 800,000 and the air conditioning was 400,000, so that was 1.2 right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't that I'm trying to remember back a few months
I
now.
can pull it up,
Weren't
actually.
those things that you were thinking that we should have done a debt?
If we were gonna do it, we should do a debt exclusion. The problem is, I need a whole lot more information in order to do that, and I'm not sure we're gonna have enough time to put something like that together at this point for town meeting, because we have to get debt schedules from bond council, and our bank, in order to figure out where we're at. And putting a debt exclusion together also requires an election. It's a two-step process. It's town meeting, as well as it would need to go on the annual town elections. So the problem is that we're running out of time. And without information, I can't move forward with that recommendation. But let me give you what I had.
Sounds like you're handcuffed.
I feel a bit that way.
Yeah, no kidding.
Am I in the right year here?
So how's Florida?
Cold.
Really?
Cold.
This time of year?
It was
Did you
18
want your
on
money?
Sunday morning.
Did you want your money back?
Yeah,
I would.
right.
Whereabouts in
Except
Florida
I
were you at
paid to be
18?
there. That was Ocala.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of,
That's cold.
It was cold,
Yeah.
and the place I stay at has no heat, because heat is not a legal requirement in the state of Florida.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah, isn't that interesting to find out
That's
from my landlord?
very
Well, considering
interesting.
the number of people over the years I've met who moved to Boston and were surprised that AC wasn't included.
Yeah, yeah, AC is required in Florida, but not heat.
I must have it in hard copy back in my office, but it was.
You gave it
was
to
3
us.
million. I know, I emailed it, then I should be able to pull it up through email.
yeah, you emailed it to us.
Oh, please.
Wait,
Let's see.
wait, I think this is it. Oh no, that says
You figured, send it to me
1/12/23. That
again,
was last
because I
year.
lost that whole email, my phone went bazooka.
Oh, sure. Let's see.
Please.
School committee meeting. Problem is I have so many things
I
in here
told her.
related to the school. Let's see.
I found what they gave us last year. In my organized
Well, that's
file.
good for good reference.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, because there are probably some, I mean, I know things change, but they probably gave us a
Well, they gave-
preview of coming attractions.
Exactly, they gave us a FY '24, '25, '26 for Tohoto and for Berlin Memorial.
Yes.
So for Berlin Memorial, they had 45,000 in IT, 20,000 in a walkway and playground.
That got paid for the walkway around the playground, a contractor donated.
Oh,
that, I can
nice.
tell you that.
Wow.
And then the EPDM flat roof of 272,000.
That got done. That was the portion of it that got done.
Oh, we're in 25 now, aren't we?
Yep.
Right,
Okay.
No, we're in 24.
Oh, but we're budgeting for 25.
Correct.
correct.
Right. So then, for FY '25, last year, they had two different categories of IT, one for 41,000, one for 27,000, and then HVAC upgrade for 400,000. That's it. For Berlin Memorial.
Are we replacing the original AC or?
This says HVAC upgrade, and I wrote in rooftop unit. So I would assume replacing all
I
of them.
hate rooftop units.
Tohoto was nearly $200,000 in IT, debt service of $1.2 million. Upgrading the track for 30 grand and HVAC software for 50 grand.
What?
I think we just give people fans and fire. Because that'd be good with teenagers in high school.
Put the wood burning stoves in there.
Right? Give them coal,
Yeah.
coal for Christmas.
No. Oh, man.
I am struggling to find it on the spot, which of course always
Yeah,
happens.
no worries.
But I will find it and I will send it back.
Don't worry,
out.
don't
Okay.
worry about it. You don't, you
Yeah,
know,
it's not your responsibility.
You know,
This is true.
we appreciate it though.
Yeah,
Not a problem.
definitely. Okay, so stepping into our capital items for this year, I suggest that we start by talking about police and fire, because 98% of that, if not all of it, will come out of public safety. Or we will suggest comes out of public safety, and that's just an easier number, I think, to start with.
That's for 2025.
For 2025, yep. So police is asking, I have two different numbers written down. Police is asking for, let's say, $25,000 for tasers.
Yeah, they said, yeah, they upped it slightly.
They upped it slightly, that's
Yeah.
fine. I wasn't sure if they did or if we rounded up just to cover
What's that, the, for which one?
for the tasers.
I thought we upped it.
I thought we, yeah.
I wrote down,
In case
I
it
wrote down,
increased.
put in, possibility to put in is 25K.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we upped it. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
mark
think
it
we did
myself,
too.
but,
We didn't want them to have to come back because it kept incrementally increasing every
Right.
time he got a new quote. So
Right.
we
Yeah.
were worried it was gonna creep up between now and town meeting.
yeah.
Right,
Even, he gave himself a cushion, but he didn't know if it was enough or not.
Exactly.
that's really cute, puppy.
That's me.
Yep, I was grabbing my calculator.
Oh,
So, and then the single cruiser replacement, thankfully, we've already replaced.
I know I can't find it. Sorry to interrupt, because it was just summarized verbally, and I sent a verbal summary in an email. So I did find it, I will. send
Oh,
it to
okay.
yeah, we actually upped it to 24,000. for the taser.
24, not 25?
Well, that's what I have written
I
down.
had 25 down.
Originally, he brought it up to 23,625.
We talked about 24, and then
No, we-
25 sounded like a better
He
Round
round
brought,
number.
he brought it up from 22 to 2365, and then we said, well, why don't you just round it up to 24?
And then we said 25 sounded,
I don't remember the
Better.
25.
because it was still kind of,
It's, at that stage, you gave him $1,000, doesn't really matter. I hate to say it that
And
way.
in
but-
general, we're gonna probably get that $1,000 back.
Right.
yeah.
But I don't want to have him, if all of a sudden he needs $200 or $300, we don't have to go through the rigmarole
Right.
of having to do it.
So the cruiser is 116,000?
No, no,
No,
no.
it went
for
down to
two.
59,500.
Right. So in total police budget, they're asking for $84,500.
Yeah.
For the two items. And we have we currently have $388,663 in,
Excuse me.
public safety mitigation. We're also going to get another payment at some point of a significant amount, 700,000.
What did you have for a cruiser? 59.5?
59.5,
Okay.
That's because we bought the one
yeah.
out of ARPA funds.
So I would suggest, my feeling is in the case of police, we just approve the tasers and the cruiser. I don't see anything to argue about
Let's
there.
just do it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thoughts? No. I make a motion that we vote for police for 25,000 for tasers and 59.5 for cruiser replacement to come out of public safety mitigation for FY '25. Anybody second?
I second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? No? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So,
So total is what, 59 plus?
84.5.
84.5.
So that now puts us at 304,600. I can't do that. $304,000 in public safety mitigation left. Plus, not including this year's payment.
So it was, just to make sure I have it right, because I'm going to give you an updated spreadsheet, 25,000 for the tasers and 59.5 for the cruiser out of public safety mitigation.
Correct.
For a total of 84,500 to police.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. I have a couple iterations of that spreadsheet, so I
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm working off the right one.
It's okay, mine has notes all over it.
Yeah.
And I don't, they all made sense to me when I wrote them down.
Same here.
Well, that, yeah, I get it. Welcome to my life.
Okay, then fire. He asked for a bunch of things in order to prepare us.
I ranked them.
I ranked them as well, but I have 2 3s.
Well,
Ah,
he actually gave us a ranking.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
So the first one that isn't on my, oh no, maybe that's a 5? The turnout gear replacement,
I have that as 4.
I have that as 4 as
That's
well.
number
yeah.
4.
that's
4.
number 4, okay. I also have the
Number 1
word,
is gas meters, I guess.
yeah.
Gas meters is number 1.
Okay.
And then the 3, well, the 2 that I have is stair chair.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yep,
3 is 2 things. It's the gear grid and the gear washer.
Yeah.
They kind of go together.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
I thought it was gear washer and dryer, and he bumped the gear grid out to 26.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
yep, I have the gear grid having moved to 26.
Because he thought he had another good year out of the what?
Yeah,
Yep,
Yep.
exactly. So yeah, I have gas meters, stair chair, washer dryer, and gear replacement
Yep.
Okay.
for 66,463
Total,
total.
66,000 what?
463.
463.
and that's gas meters,
For 18.
washer and dryer,
Yep,
chair, and turnout gear.
yep,
So that's for 4 items.
yep. So I have 18,000 for the gas meters because that request was increased to 6 devices.
Right.
Mhm.
5,000 for the stair chair,
Right.
Yeah,
24,463 for the washer dryer, and 19,000 for the turnout gear.
Turnout gear, yes.
So, because I have the lovely spreadsheet doing the math for me, that's how I got to 66,463, because I'm not that
Why
good
does,
at counting.
how come the turnout gear, he's got that going out though?
Correct, he wants to start an annual replacement of that, so it's.
So that's every
rotating.
year, that's what he figures it's gonna go up?
Yeah.
Correct.
right.
So
I
he
think he's
just,
a little low on that $500, yeah.
He
But-
may be,
Yeah, but that's okay.
but at least it gives us an idea of what's coming down the pipe,
if
which I
I,
like.
if I remember how he described it, is each person who's full-time
Mhm.
has 2 sets of gear.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so the idea is that every year, 2 sets get, is that the right number?
Yeah.
How
But you-
many sets,
So he
they're
can
they're
rotate
basically
them, yeah.
cycling through.
Cycling, yeah.
So every firefighter will have 2 sets of gear, and like when they're going on training and stuff, they'll use
The
the
old one.
older gear.
Yep.
But they'll also have like the second set, so if they've just been out at a fire, just used it as being whatever, they have a second set, so.
And I think they
Just-
last, what, 5 years or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, he said.
Is that how long you said it?
The thing that I don't understand is, as you lose guys and replace guys, or girls, whatever it happens to be, each one of those turnout gear is fit for that person, so what happens, how do they, so in other words, guy my
Yeah.
size.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
It comes out, and they size it to fit you.
Sure.
So the next guy comes in, he could be 60 pounds lighter than me. I wonder how they do
I
that.
think for the call.
They make him
people-
gain weight.
That's right, you
But
gain or you lose.
So you think the call firefighters?
I think they probably, because you have so many call firefighters, you probably have a lot of different sizes, would be my thought, but that's just a guess.
Yeah.
So you probably have pieces of ones that are different
This is a
sizes.
good question for the next time we
It
talk
is.
to the
It
the
is.
chief.
We have
because-
about 40 call
Yeah.
firefighters.
I mean, this is a sidetrack, but what I'm finding really interesting this year is we're actually learning from the different departments
I'm
the
learning a lot,
nitty
too.
gritty of how
Things
they're
work.
working and why they need, like, I have to say, when he described that chair, and like how vital that is,
Yeah.
to have
Yeah,
a
and
chair
going
that's gonna
down the stairs.
to prevent
Just-
to prevent injuries. And I was telling someone, if I was just looking at this on a sheet, I was like, why do you need another?
Yeah. But he should have put it as a ambulance chair or.
Back saver.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
and you
Workers'
start to think
comp
about it,
relief.
$5,000 is very cheap unless you have somebody go out with a back injury.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because not only are you paying out, then you're also dealing with future higher insurance
Yep.
premiums because of the claim.
Yep.
And
Should
losing,
we vote on
And
this
losing a
thing?
valuable member of your
Yeah.
team who's out for that period of time and having to
If not
backfill those
permanently,
shifts.
because-
If not permanently,
Yeah.
correct. Plus the fact that we just don't want people to get injured.
yeah.
Fair. Okay, so I make a motion that we vote for those 4 items.
Yes.
As listed. So 6 gas meters, a new gear washer and dryer, the EMS stair chair replacement, they cannot keep the old one. And replacement turnout gear for, I have 5. Oh,
Wait a minute,
that's-
no. The
No?
washer is blown off for a year.
No, it's the gear grid.
Gear grid, I knew it
Gear
was one
grid.
of them, I'm sorry.
And the gear washers, the gear washer and the drying cabinet.
Yeah,
That's where I got confused, okay.
So it's basically gas meters, gear grid.
not the gear grid. Gas meters, gear washer and
I
dryer.
thought it was,
EMS
I thought it was the
chair
gear
and-
washer that he said he can get another year out of.
No, it was the year group.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you sure? Because I can check.
You might check before we, can't hurt to confirm.
Please
But I'm-
stand by.
But I have a note that says it's 25 years, or 23 years old.
That's what I heard.
That's what he
I heard
said,
it's
but
original to
that's-
the building.
But you, like you said, you know, you're probably right.
Yeah.
How are you? Good. Can I put you on speaker at the Capital Committee for a moment? We are voting on your request, and they have a question about the gear washer and dryer versus the gear grid. Yeah, we're trying to figure out, I thought the gear washer and dryer was this year and the gear grid was next year?
Those out in two, if you will, a couple years apart type of thing. The gear grid does not have to be in this upcoming budget cycle.
Okay.
Okay. So we just wanted to make sure before we take a vote that we're voting on the right thing.
That would be correct. Yes, we can put the gear grid off. The gear washer and gear dryer is more of a priority with the age of the machine and the failure. And the gear grid I can put off for a year or two because those, I can kind of maintain those for the next 2 years, if you will, if we have to do that. They're just getting to that point, they're kind of falling apart and stuff, and I'm looking at those as part of just, in the next couple, years, if you will, replacing those.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Hey,
Perfect.
My pleasure.
Thank
My
you, Chief.
pleasure, not a problem.
Have a good night.
good
You
night.
guys too, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, good.
Okay, so those 4 items as listed, gas meters, gear washer and dryer, the stair chair replacement, and the turnout gear replacement for a total of $66,463
Yes.
Yeah.
out of public safety mitigation.
Need to second? I second that.
Okay, any discussion? Nope, all
No.
those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Okay, this is good. This is one of the easiest years.
I was gonna say, this looks easier than last year.
This is so,
Yeah.
this is, I'm pretty sure, the easiest year I've ever seen.
Well, and if you go to
Except
the
school.
bottom, I don't know if on your sheet you have it, but I actually did, there were only a total of 150,963 requests out of public safety mitigation funds, which is what you just approved. So there, you approved the requests from police and fire that totaled that amount. And then there was only 67,900 in free cash requests, which is great, and I am more than, our little friend is back, I am more than happy to
That one.
forward free cash on, because
You
it
tell me there
rolls
first.
to the next year. We also earn interest on it. We actually just moved our money to a higher interest earning account it's on me.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's
on-
not.
no,
No,
no, no.
I feel like it's something on me now. I'm just losing my mind. So it's earning more interest now. It was earning less than 1%. Now it's earning 4.5%.
Good.
Wow,
So we made a
nice.
big difference. So I am more than happy to roll that emergency money over because it really should be used for urgent needs and not touched if we don't need to touch it.
Meaning we should turn down the Brown Barn demolition in the highway?
No, meaning you have the authority to go up to 30% on capital of free cash, but given the fact that we don't have quite that amount in requests, I think you could fund what's there if you're so inclined, and we could look to future years where there are likely to be more funding
Yep.
requests. And that money does sit there and earn interest,
Yeah.
so it's a positive thing, not a negative thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I can't recall, so the 1870 driveway paving for 17.9 was also in the ARPA Bullard House stuff?
No. So the drainage is in ARPA, then once that's fixed, he's asking for the paving from capital.
Okay. And then the air duct cleaning
So.
out of operating budget.
Yes, the air duct cleaning, which was the 23,
That was something that was
Thousand.
pointed out, right? Needed to get done, that wasn't being done?
yeah, and there was that, and then there's also, I've got to figure this out because We also have he has a request to do the carpets and the floors, which are really, they're not a capital expense because they don't really meet that definition of, it's not something that
That
is
should be,
an item
that
that
should be in the
holds.
general maintenance of the building.
Correct, but it's not something that we have to do every year, so I wouldn't recommend putting it necessarily in the operating budget. What I would do is like a special article for that funding. So when I look at, and I believe I put that in the budget as a special article already, but let me just confirm. Let me pull up the budget. Let's see here. Yes, so I put down $23,000 for a special article. So we're allowed to use up to $150,000 of free cash for special articles that are things that aren't capital. So I'll give you the other items on there too. The other is a $15,000 request for a master plan from the planning board, and a almost $5,000 request because we have to do our 5-year revaluation, which there's no way around that, from the assessing office, and that's the cost for that.
So, I don't know how to phrase it. I'm a little confused.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I'm confused in methodology, not what you just said.
Oh, okay.
So as far as I understand, capital planning is has input on any purchase the town makes over $10,000. So it's not,
Any
it doesn't.
capital item.
It's not, we weren't defined as capital items. We were defined as, not spending. Maybe capital items is a good way to put it. I'll have to find the bylaw.
Okay.
It was weird, but we had
It's
to
a
like
little odd,
determine a value, and I remember we determined that value to be $10,000. And the master plan for the planning committee has always come through us before. It's always been on
Oh.
this list.
Really?
Really. Yeah, we've definitely done
But if
that.
it's under 10,000, would it come under on that
No,
list?
it's
No, it's
15,000.
15,000.
Oh, 15,000, I'm
But
sorry, I
they
heard the
asked
wrong number.
for that,
Sorry.
But it's not-
like every year, every other year. But it's not an entity, right? Like,
Right.
it's not a table.
So my understanding, and I'll have to reread the bylaw, and I'm used to capital being anything over $10,000 with a useful life of more than 5 years is your typical definition of what a capital item is. So even like IT items don't typically fall under capital because they don't last for more than 3 to
Right.
5 years. So like a master plan is not, it's a study, it's not a item, like a
Right.
like a car or a
Right.
And actually, technically, and we debated this extensively in my former community, police vehicles technically aren't capital because they don't necessarily last up to 5 years.
I tried many times to get it in the police budget.
We always did anything
We did it
that
as
had.
special articles.
Yeah.
Anything that had a, what I quote unquote, cash value, anything that has a dollar amount, computers, cars, chairs, desk, I mean, anything of major dollars that had a value. And I agree with you, not IT type stuff or something like that. Anything
Right.
that's
An
a
asset.
physical asset to the town.
Yeah.
Right, which, I don't know that I would consider a study as an asset, but maybe what we need to do, and maybe this is something we can do once we finish this up, is revisit the bylaw. And maybe we need to do a bylaw revision and make it clear.
Yeah, we can definitely, do that.
It's, yeah, because I know
'cause
on my former community, it was unclear and everybody was kind of confused too, and so we had to make it clear. And we could look at maybe what other communities do and kind of do
Yeah.
a little assessment that way.
So we sat down with the first couple of years and put together I would call it a paper, but that's just because, definitions.
Oh,
So
okay.
I can pull that back
Oh, that
out,
would be
and then
helpful.
all of us I can email it to you, and then after all of this is
Yeah.
done, we can sit down and go through it and see if there are things we want to alter.
Well, and that would be helpful too, because I'm certainly not trying to bypass this committee by any means, but my definition of capital may be different than what the bylaws definition of capital is, and I want to make sure I'm bringing you the things that you should vote on. And I know with the ARPA it gets a little muddy, and with CPA it gets a little muddy, but ultimately, those items that are physical assets, for sure, should be coming
Right.
before you. And then I think we need to just figure out the rest, because I want to make sure that you have the appropriate input on items.
Right, yeah, no, I'm not suggesting that. But it's also, when we wrote that document 5 years ago or 7 years ago, we didn't have ARPA, and we didn't have CPA, and we didn't have those things that sort of muddied the waters. We were kind of like, okay, let's
Right.
just set a dollar amount,
Pretty
and
cut
then we'll
and
go
dry.
from there, yeah. So I think discussion is a good place to go.
I like it.
Yeah, awesome. I also like that it's not on our list, because we look like we're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I think
So-
you look very thrifty, and thrifty is a good thing.
Chris, I think you ought to do pest control.
You know, we are, and they told us there's nothing they can do.
Why not?
That it's seasonal,
Yeah, I know.
and
It's
that there's
true.
no like infestation that they can find anywhere.
No.
And that we have to
I
look,
have
but I'm
them in
telling you,
my house.
they land on us in
This,
meetings.
I have them in my house, nothing you can do
They get
about
people
it.
screaming in their offices when they land on people, so
I have
myself
one in
included.
my house that is so loud, it's going
I
from
know, it
one
sounds like a
light fixture
helicopter.
and hitting it.
I know, that's why I'm like.
And these
"What
are
the
the
heck?"
stink bugs, that's what they are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
but it's
stink
one
bugs.
that just makes it just goes boom against the light fixture.
I thought it was Italian Air Force. So.
So we still discussing the duct cleaning?
So
Yeah.
we're debating, is the duct cleaning a capital item, which would also,
Probably not, yeah.
I mean, that's,
I mean, it's not a tangible, like,
Right.
I think-
it's not
I
well,
thi-
but it's also not a yearly thing.
right.
Yeah, every 3
So we
years.
need like a third category.
That's what special articles are typically
Yeah.
for, things that aren't capital but are one-time expenses.
To me,
So-
that is a maintenance of the building, that's what that should be under, the maintenance of a building.
Why, or does highway and facilities have a building maintenance portion of their budget? Like, say they get, I don't know, 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year
I think it's
for
20, isn't it?
building
We just
maintenance.
we just looked at it last night.
Not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough, it's 10,000, it used to be 20.
Oh, that's right, you said it
During
used to be 20.
COVID, it got slashed completely, and last year, we were able to bring back 10,000, and I was hoping to put more in this year. But he also does have this was the confusion, he had 10,000 in a separate line item, but he had some money in his regular expense budget, so we're combining them together for ease of use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So in theory, we could have special articles this year and next year, or 2 this year, and then by the next time the ducts need to be cleaned.
You would do
Yep,
another.
you
He
would do
would-
another one.
Either you do another one, or he'd have a maintenance budget.
But
But you can't carry over year to year, so the problem is if it's not an annual expense, it can't
Oh,
go
I
in the
see.
operating budget because you can't roll that
Right.
over to the next
So
fiscal
that's
year.
why we always had hot top as a capital item.
Yep, I'm,
Which-
I know, that's a little, that one, that's road paving.
Right.
So
Right.
that's an asset, because
Right.
a road is an asset, so I'm okay with that. A study, I think is different.
Right.
which Reval is a consultant, so that's different. And maintenance item, I would say, is different.
Right.
So
Right.
it is weird.
I wouldn't argue with that. It just always sort of threw me that we were debating about hot top, which was a regular expense every year, but it had to come through us, because then he could pile it up for 3 years and then use it all. That's
See-
the way it was explained to me.
Oh.
Because if it was on his regular budget every year,
He'd lose it.
He'd lose it because it
Correct.
wasn't enough.
So that's the other reason you use an article, because articles don't have to have an expiration date. You can put an expiration date on an article, and obviously you don't want to leave an article open forever, but that's how you do it if something is spread over 2 years. Then you also can refund an article, which is nice. So say we set up this article that I'm now sort of calling municipal offices air duct cleaning and floor cleaning. So it's kind of, or we might call it maintenance, and then put in parentheses air duct and floor cleaning. So I was just doing the math on he had a $23,000 request for the duct cleaning. Then through the operating budget, he had put in an $8,328 every other year request to do the floors and the carpets here. So I would combine those both and do a maintenance article.
Right.
And then you replenish it.
It just,
Drop it.
It just, it fell on the floor.
Also, you're gonna laugh, but this one technically, if you really want to get down to it, could be health and safety.
True. Oh, I think we should definitely fund it. I just think that we're
Because,
gonna fund it out
because
of,
if your ductwork is dirty, contaminated,
well,
breeds bacteria, colds, flu,
Can you just
We're
call it
seeing-
other budget items?
yeah, we're seeing, well, we need to be specific because we don't
We
want
do?
town meeting to
Okay.
think it's a slush fund.
Yeah.
We're actually seeing around some of these vents.
Oh, the dirt.
The dirt.
Yep.
So that's what also prompted this, is people were going, what's that?
we do,
Super gross.
we do our office every 3 years.
Absolutely. Well, and Fred just took this over, so he's now
Yep.
learning and getting on the
Yeah.
maintenance schedule.
And we
So-
never had a facilities guy.
Clean
Yeah.
before? No.
no, because everything was like all over the place. They kind of made.
Yeah.
Right.
And now's the time to do it, we have the new air handler on top.
Yep, and we also have a new building maintenance
Yeah.
Operator.
Yeah.
That's been on top of stuff.
Yeah, but
so.
you gotta bring in somebody to do that.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, but I'm saying while you have
Yeah.
someone who's building a plan for how things should be done in preventative maintenance and annual maintenance and stuff, you gotta get that in there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's like you have one person now who's in charge of tracking it all,
Exactly.
Yeah.
who's not Fred.
Whereas, we don't do it till it breaks. Now we're
Right.
actually trying
Well,
to plan it.
That's the problem with most towns too,
It
it's
is.
terrible.
It is, it's a
But-
huge problem.
When COVID first started, we were doing our air ducts in the office every single year.
I'm not surprised. It certainly doesn't hurt.
It's not quite as big as this, but it was still like 12 grand.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I just
that's-
wanted to backtrack for a second though on this, because when you're right now, I was saying to take, for this air duct cleaning, to take it out of free cash. So if you do
As
it
a special article.
So if you did the article, you'd still be considering free cash as the funding.
It does touch free cash, it just doesn't touch the 30% that is appropriated or allowed to be used by capital. So let's just talk briefly free cash plan that FinCom has put together. The free cash plan basically says you don't spend 25%. So 25% off the top goes away, you don't touch it. Then you're supposed to put 10% into the capital stabilization, 10% into the general stabilization. Supposed to put 10 into OPEB, but we're not gonna go into OPEB right now. And you can put up to 30% in the capital plan and up to $150,000 in special articles. So that's where all this fits in. So right now, with the master plan update for 15,000, the assessor's reval for 55, and this municipal cleaning floor and the air ducts, that brings me to just under 99,000. So we're well within the 150, but that's its own little bucket as opposed to your bucket.
Our bucket.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
So,
great.
so are we adding the 8,000 for the carpets on the same?
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna put that under special articles, not under your capital plan.
Okay.
But I'm gonna put the air duct cleaning with it.
Okay. That makes sense.
So, so driveway paving for
Right.
the 1870 is then the only thing that highway is asking us for.
Correct.
Correct.
What's the likelihood that drainage is gonna get done in FY '25?
I mean, it depends on how complicated the fix is,
Mhm.
right? Which we don't have the answer to yet. If it's a relatively simple fix, I think there's a high probability because we have to spend the money by the end of 2026. If it's far more complicated, then the answer is no. The one thing that is good about a capital article like this is you don't have to put a sunset clause on it. So if he can't get to it in 25, it could be open for him to use in 26. So you're sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of another if you want to take it out of this year or you want to take it out of next year. I might recommend taking it out of this year because that can carry over into the next year.
When we vote, but it doesn't get spent, does it stay in the free cash at 4%, or does it move into a special account to wait to be spent?
Nope, it stays there until it's spent.
Okay.
So we touch it and move it into our coffer, or into our, we have a payroll and payables account when we actually need another, well, we have a lot of accounts,
Yep.
but we have another one that we use to move money in and out of quickly when
Yep.
we're doing warrants and weekly payroll and things like that.
Okay.
So did you say that paving is gonna come out of highway budget,
No, it's
No.
gonna come out of free cash,
free cash?
or it would come out of. free cash.
Capitals,
Yeah.
free cash bucket.
Capital's free cash bucket.
And I would recommend doing it in '25, especially because you're a little lighter on the demands this year.
Mm.
That would be, because you just don't know the future, and I have to say, with the facilities study, there are going to be far more requests in '26 than we're going to ever be able to fund.
Yep.
I agree
That
with you.
doesn't surprise me at all. So I make a motion that we vote to pay for the 1870 Town Hall driveway paving for $17,900 out of free cash.
Second that?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. And then the last one is the Brown Barn.
Well, did we vote on the one for the duct cleaning?
Yeah.
No.
No, we're
Lumped
moving it
together.
off, so it could be
Yeah, it's
capital.
getting out of
Oh,
capital. They're taking it away from
I got
capital.
it.
It's gonna move on to the warrant
Okay.
itself for town meeting.
I understand now, I was just went over my head for a
No,
minute.
that's all right, no problem.
Which one did you say, the last one?
The last one is the Brown Barn.
Oh, okay.
We're going up the list instead of down. Kristen, can you remind me / us about the numbers for the Brown Barn? I know we have 50, but wasn't there money coming from elsewhere?
So there is $50,000 that's allocated in ARPA funds. I have a quote for $27,000, but that was also for last fall. So I imagine that will go up a bit. And then I also have an estimate on paving that amounted to 62,000. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So that was where I came up with the $100,000.
Okay, so you need 50 from us,
50 from you, since I already have 50.
50 from us.
So, yep.
So that's the barn near the school, right?
I think so.
67,000, I'm sorry, not 62.
Okay, that's the barn by the school.
That's the brown barn by the school on South Commons.
Like by the pond by the school on the left side?
Correct.
$50,000 to take it down?
No.
No, to take it down
28,000.
and repave and put in a parking
Oh,
lot.
okay.
Yeah.
But
What is
total
that
is
song?
We
50,000.
won't, we will not pave Paradise, though.
Parking lots.
No.
Paved Paradise. Paved Paradise. And that barn has the creosote poles.
We will have to look at that as part of this as well.
So why are we taking it down?
It's falling down, and it's an eyesore.
It's a safety issue.
And so, we're basically trying to clean up South Commons and make it a better place. And because we've put all that money into the rec courts that are immediately adjacent, it's kind of an eyesore. I mean, that's really part of what it is. It's the safety issue, it's an eyesore, and we need parking over there for the rec courts. They're, I don't know if you saw how hopping they were last summer, but they were heavily used.
That's
And so
nice.
And
people
doesn't-
are pulling in that dirt lot that's like this right now, so we'd
Yeah.
like to kind of straighten that out.
Isn't there a little concern about to the ADA too on that for the surface, to have a solid surface to get to the?
Yep. So what part of that is, there's a path, I believe, that was
Paved
paved. So I
already,
call
yeah.
it the path to nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the parking lot to connect it to, so this would complete that project.
That's what I'm saying, so that makes sense. And they're not just gonna pave it, are they striping it too?
Yeah, highway would mark it off.
Okay.
Yep, or whoever we hired to do line paint, I don't know if it's
You know how
highway or how it
sometimes
comes
things
in.
like that slip by, believe me.
True, you gotta stay on it.
Now, the bid went out already for that kind of money, or we're just guessing?
I got quotes.
Well, you got a quote?
Yeah, I requested 3 quotes, 2 came back, 2 came back on the barn and 1 came back on the paving. And the paving was like an off the napkin number quote, unfortunately. He gave me what the
Well,
current
did,
cost for asphalt was and estimated what that area, went out and measured what the area would be. and then we got to the 67,000 from there.
Who did our courts? Wasn't it,
Lazaro, I can't
he
remember.
did-
his
he
name,
didn't
right?
quote on
Lazaro,
that one?
Lazaro?
Lazaro?
No, you know what, when they were out here, we actually asked them to give us a quote on that, and we could not get the quote from them. I think they're too big, and they were ready to move on to their next project.
Yeah, but I mean, they might bid on it now.
I don't know, we asked a couple of times for a quote on that, and we got
Really?
nothing.
I mean, they took the tennis courts, you'd think they would do that.
I know.
I mean, I see them doing driveways.
I think
mean,
it
that's
just
that's
depends
not a
on-
small job.
No, I think it depends on the timing of their schedule and what they have going
Yeah.
on, you know?
I'm surprised there's so many guys out there that do that too.
Well, I know up at my condo association, we have to get the road work done because it's private roads.
Mm.
And finding someone to do it for years is,
Been tricky.
it's tricky, yeah.
And like I said,
Do
it's
we pay our
amazing.
bills on time?
Like in
As
general?
a town, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do.
And in fact, anything that has a early, you know, a percentage off for paying it early or paying it in full, we make sure we do that as well.
Yep.
So why wouldn't people bid on jobs like that? This is
We're
well-paid
a
job.
small fish.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. They can get huge paving jobs in other places.
Yeah. But, you know, it still amazes me because you see them all over the place and they're only doing driveways, but you'll see them doing 6 driveways in one section of town.
They, I think,
Yeah.
lump it all together.
Makes sense. Any thoughts on this 50 grand for the Brown Barn?
No, it's coming out of ARPA fund.
Yeah.
Well, half's
Well,
ARPA
half, yeah.
and half's
Okay.
free cash.
Yeah, so it's 100,000 total. 50,000 from ARPA, 50,000 from us, from free cash.
But the whole thing is not 100,000, is it?
Their
Yes.
request for us is 50,000. The
Oh, I
whole
see.
thing is 100.
Oh,
So
okay.
70 in paving and 30 to pull the building down.
Correct.
I would think it would have been the other way around.
Asphalt is really not cheap right now.
I know.
Dirt, man.
And it's a
dirt.
large area and they have to lay it out and, yeah.
I know.
So I call a vote that we approve the select board's request to demo the Brown Barn for 50 grand to add to the ARPA funds for a total of 100,000 and not a penny more out of free cash.
It breaks my heart, but I'll second it.
Any discussion? Breaks my heart too. It's sad. I totally makes sense to pull down the.
Oh, it does,
but I
but-
hate it.
Well,
Yeah.
there
And
is.
to pave it?
does have to go through a historical commission demo delay process, so there is the potential, but I have talked to the historical commission. It really, other than Tim Wheeler herding sheep, it doesn't really have a lot of historical
No,
value to
no.
it, unfortunately. It is a 1960s building, so it does meet the definition, criteria-wise to be reviewed by the historical
Yeah,
commission, so
but
we
Big
still will look
Bertha
at that.
was stored in there.
Again, Big Bertha and Tim Wheeler and the Herd.
That's awesome.
Sounds like a good name for a band.
Tim Wheeler and the Herd.
Yes.
The final bunny.
We suggested to the fire chief to burn it down and have a good exercise field.
Yeah.
But,
Creosote.
yeah,
Maybe
but
much
not,
cheaper.
then you
So
have
what?
to pay hazardous
It will
waste to get
burn
rid of that. See, that'll just end up at Wheelabrator in Millbury.
Ugh.
Wheelabrator.
Wheelabrator's the
Or we'll
incinerator.
hire
I
Skip
know.
Sawyer with
My
his
husband
back
works
on,
for
take it out and.
compost
put it
and
in
trash
it.
company for 20 years.
Oh, yeah?
I just haven't heard anybody say
I know, I
Wheelabrator
know.
in 3 years. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
All right.
so we pass that.
So I will forward this out to you.
So that's
then.
our list, right?
It is. I will
That is the
send you-
easiest year. Oh, our list is not done. I propose a vote that we move 10% of free cash into capital stabilization. I have the number written down as $177,787. Does that sound appropriate?
I think so. Hold on, let me just pull my spreadsheet up.
Okay.
What'd you say, 10%? That
Last
would be-
time- I did math
10%
in my head,
of
it
free
didn't go
cash
so
is
well,
what we're
so-
allowed to put into capital
let's see,
stabilization.
Yep.
Which makes us the biggest spender of capital funds this year.
You ready? Lots of sevens. $177,788, we'll round up. There was 40 cents, so I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
give you the extra $1.
Okay.
And that's the, brain cramp. Would you say it was for the
Stabilization.
I knew that, I just couldn't get it out.
All right, I'm gonna say it the way I read the things, 177,788.
That one I got, I just
I like
couldn't
that.
get the word out.
Basically, that's savings account.
Yeah, just a savings.
Yes, thank you.
Yep,
And that's coming from the
free cash.
free cash, okay.
Okay.
Somebody needs to
But
second
it's not,
me.
but it's not the,
Why do I not have
um,
email?
it's not the 30% bucket, it's,
It's the whole bucket,
okay,
right? It's the whole bucket?
That's 10% of the whole
Of the
bucket.
whole
Right.
bucket.
okay.
Yeah, our free cash is 1.777 this year.
Cool.
Lots of lucky sevens, I'll take it.
I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Go to
sounds
the
great.
casino.
That's pretty good.
Just kidding. I realized part of the problem why you didn't get that is I don't have you on my capital distribution list.
Oh,
So hold on, I'm gonna fix that right now because I don't actually know that I ever got your email address. Did I send you an email? What's your email?
Sporter, SPORTER, GMC.
I got you now. You came right up, so I have sent you an email.
Yep.
Let's see, so we're gonna add you to capital.
Do you want me to second that?
Sure.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. John just nodded his head.
Was that a yes, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
fine. You can vote no. We're still winning.
Yeah,
Steve and I.
you're right.
Hashtag winning.
We're still winning by saving. Woo!
Yeah.
Is Eloise okay, or is,
I don't know. I was just gonna ask you guys.
I meant to ask you when you first came in, I forgot to
I
ask.
saw her
think
yesterday.
she was watching her granddaughter.
Oh.
She came by earlier with
Okay.
her,
Okay.
but I could be wrong.
After my mess up last time, I know she had responded to the email that this worked for
I
her,
hate to
but-
say this, but I'm glad it was a mix-up.
Oh, good.
I had a bad day, and I just went home and right to bed.
I'm
Oh.
sorry you had a bad day.
You have no idea how helpful that was. I had 4 that was my 4th night meeting that week, and
my
I
God.
had, I literally went home and was eating and was falling asleep and was going, how am I gonna get back? And then when I saw your email, I went to bed.
Okay.
So I was
Yeah.
very helpful.
Well, I'm at work
was the
like
only time I was
5
early.
every morning.
Oh, so
And then
you-
I didn't
yeah.
leave that day till like 3:30, so I've already been up for like working in 12 hours, right? And I'm going, oh no, am I gonna make it there?
I literally went, oh my God, thank you so much.
No, I said the same
See, it
thing.
was the universe saying,
It
forget
was.
to enter
Yeah.
that meeting. Speaking of which, we should schedule another meeting.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is finalize this and present it to the select board, which we're supposed to do by the 31st of January.
Ooh.
Yep, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, you did finalize it by the 1st of January.
We did finalize it, yes.
I'm sending you the budget, not capital.
Well,
And-
do we wanna meet? No.
Maybe. The other thing we have to do is prepare our report from last year, which is also due next week. And what I've done in the past is I have the report on my computer and I just change the numbers.
So-
If anybody has any objections to that, okay.
Thank you for that.
And I just sent the updated spreadsheet to
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
So,
you.
Yep.
That's at next meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Do we want to do a month? And at some point, we'll get scheduled in for a Board of Selectmen?
I was just gonna ask, would you like to come on the 5th?
No,
Okay,
I'm in Florida, unless we can do it remotely.
we are doing hybrid meetings now.
Are we?
Yep, but it doesn't have to be the 5th. It can be the 12th.
No, I'm in Florida. Can we pick Mondays that, no.
No, how about?
But somebody else could go.
how
I
about
don't
the
have to go.
26th?
I'm here.
Yay, let's do February 26th.
Okay.
And that's,
Feb. 26th.
Does that work for the rest of you?
That's
If you'd
fine
like
with
to
me.
come and visit our lovely select board in this new room that we've
Yeah.
decorated, thanks to my assistant Dee. Got to give her a shout out for all of this.
When is February 26th? Next week only?
no, it's like
No.
4 weeks
1,
away.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 4 weeks.
I can put you right on at
Oh,
7
okay,
o'clock.
February, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
I can put you first on the agenda at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
How's that? Then you
Sounds
don't have
good.
to wait around.
So at 7
Sure.
o'clock.
I'm smiling, you just can't see.
Yeah.
In this room or?
It'll be here.
It's here.
here?
Yep.
I know, so we don't have to meet before that?
No.
I'm going to say no at this moment. I mean, we don't, unless there's some surprise that happens in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
If anything comes up, I shall let you know.
Yeah.
If I receive any
We
additional
pretty much covered
information, I will let you know.
Yeah. Again, it's a pretty quiet year.
So after the presentation to the select board?
Yep.
Do we have to meet again after that, or?
So typically, we meet at some point before town meeting, in
Okay.
case there's anything we need to discuss. And then typically, after town meeting, that's when we start meeting and talking about buildings and getting our assets list.
Okay.
And we do that like once a month, once every 2 months, couple of meetings over the summer.
Okay.
That sort of thing. So I would say that probably, and we should look at our bylaw definitions.
That would be a good
So,
time to
but
look at
after
as
town
well.
meeting,
Yes, please.
yeah.
So you have projects already planned for next year?
What we do have to meet about and discuss at some point to be determined is once, CPA has their projects. Do you know how they're doing on their projects? We're supposed to have
Didn't
opinions.
they give us their projects?
They gave us their
preliminary.
preliminary projects, but
Oh,
not
let
their
me-
finalized list.
Or do you want to read, you want me to reach out to Tim? You want to reach out to Tim?
Whatever works.
If you want to do it maybe as chair.
Sure. I can do that.
And yeah, because I haven't
Um,
received anything updated from them
Yeah.
yet.
They work on a different schedule than we do, so,
Okay.
which makes stuff difficult.
Or let's just look at that too.
And there is likely some type of change, at least related to the rail trail, so
So,
let's
yes.
not have a debate on the rail trail.
No,
I'm
don't get me started on the rail trail.
Please don't. I can't, I have PTSD already.
So CPA.
Welcome to Rail Trail Berlin. We all have PTSD.
Let's go back to talking about drive-throughs.
Okay.
That was more fun.
Oh, well, you know how much we lost on that drive-through up at Highland Commons?
Panera and Starbucks?
Yeah.
About $250,000 a
Yeah.
year.
What's that?
Really?
Yeah.
But because we don't allow drive-throughs in town,
Oh,
both
yeah.
Panera and Starbucks wanted to go on the Berlin side of Highland
Yep.
Commons. We lost about $250,000 a year in revenue.
I know.
Why we couldn't have just drawn a line around them?
You can.
This building has drive-through.
Well, you can't spot zone, but you can master plan zone.
Right.
Yeah. And the ironic part about this whole thing is everybody goes, oh, the trash is gonna be in Berlin.
It's way the
I says,
heck up
guys,
the road.
it's not the trash that's in Berlin that stays here. It's the trash from other towns that's coming into Berlin. It's from Clinton, people driving through and throwing stuff, or Hudson coming
And
through.
throw it in lips.
You know, it's not people that buying that coffee at Dunkin's and driving down 290. They're not doing
Yeah.
it.
Also, the mall's set pretty far back off the road, so I feel like if
Right.
you want to chuck your trash, you're chucking it before you get to 62.
Yeah.
I know, but it's just, I think the mentality is not looking at the way we look at it, I think.
No, I think it's like, we don't want to drive through next to the general store. I don't think that's a good idea either.
Yeah.
Right.
But Highland Commons, it might. would
So
make
we're
sense
playing
there.
Berlin bad topic bingo.
I'm
right now.
sorry, yeah. See, I just said, let's not talk about
I-
Oh
that.
my
I
God,
agree with
I
you,
had the
Kristen,
best
but-
time at town meeting once when somebody handed
bad
out
topic.
Oh, the
town
bingo
meeting
cards.
bingo cards. That was the best. Tim Wheeler will be called up to act as a moderator.
I really
It's
like to get people going on
bingo.
the drive-through, so that's my personal.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We lose a lot of money.
I'm just looking at the financial side of it and the
I
fact that
know.
it's tucked away over there and doesn't bother anybody.
Does
Right.
Berlin get the 0.25% meals tax?
Yes. Yep.
We
3
may
quarters.
lose Macy's and then
Yep.
what, yeah.
Oh, in
That's
the
all we need is a
mall,
nice little
Solomon
restaurant.
Pond.
Yeah. And
How's
down-
our
down at
Economic
Riverbridge,
Development
Dunkin'
Committee
Donuts
doing?
And the
Agree
liquor
with you
store
100%.
set up.
Don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Can you imagine the money, the money Noria's making down there? And that's junk.
Did we have anything else to do?
I don't think so.
I was gonna say, my husband's
done,
hungry,
so-
there I am.
Yep.
Hey, thank you for listening to me, Ben.
So I'm going to adjourn us.
I'm happy to.
Look at that, we were super fast, it's 8:15.
Good job.
Nicely done.
6:45 to 8:15 to make all our decisions for the year, that's pretty good.